Been rifling through the bookcase and found a book that I read some years ago and really enjoyed, a sailing book. The Greatest Sailing Stories Ever Told is the name of it. And it's edited by Christopher Caswell. Oh, I still got my hat on. Just come in out of the rain and had my old straw hat off, keep some of it off my head and glasses. Anyway, this is a good book. I really enjoyed it. It's made up of excerpts, I guess you'd call them, out of different books, mostly sailing, but adventures too. Some are wild adventures, sailing, racing sailboats around the world and storms and all kinds of things. Well, it kind of strikes home for me because, you know, years ago I had the wooden ketch osprey, and I thought she was kind of invincible, really. So even in big seas, I had no fear of anything bad happening to her. But you know, Georgine and Scott and Tina and I took off sailing to Bermuda from the Chesapeake Bay. Got into some really bad weather. Not a hurricane, but a tropical depression. Big waves, big seas. And so I rolled up my sails, and except for a little piece of a jib up there after reefing the jib, and but we were drifting backwards a little bit. Now the Osprey had a huge wooden barn door rudder on her stern, and I was drifting backwards a little bit, and she was rolling with the waves on her bow, and it was really dumb on my part. Worst thing you can do is let a boat drift backwards with a rudder sticking back there. So anyway, the rudder broke off. It was old. It was what we used to call a barn door rudder. And she had bronze rods running through the planks on her to hold them in place, and I guess over the years, water seeping in at the seams of the planks allowed the bronze rods to corrode, and most of the rudder broke off. It only left the rudder post, which was about, I don't know, 10 inches wide, 12 inches wide maybe, about 3 inches thick. And but I was still able to steer her and control her, which says a lot for the shape of the hull and the sail plan, and the fact that I could sail her with just a tiny piece of rudder left and still control the boat. We could sail to windward and off the wind. And she did really well coming back home, because we had to take her home, build a new rudder for her. But after that, I had a little less confidence in my old boat, and it was a good thing, because we went off another year, and 3 guys and myself, and so I was a little more careful about letting her run backwards downwind, because that's the way she wanted to set, bow into the wind. But I had a little less confidence. I was a little more careful, and it was a good thing. We made the trip fine, had a good time. But anyway, this story kind of reminds me of that. This fellow, Pete Goss, designed his own boat and had her built to race around the world. And he had some racing experience, and so anyway, I'm going to read the story. I may leave out some parts of it, but I'm going to basically read the story for us. Okay. Close to the Wind by Peter Goss. This story of Pete Goss, an ex-Royal Marine, is one of sheer determination, incredible courage, and heroism of the highest caliber. Pete Goss was first drawn to the challenging long-distance ocean races at the age of 24 and his first transatlantic boat was so weary when it arrived at the finish line in America that its keel fell off. Sacrificing everything, including his home and car, to build his boat, Aquaquarium, he set off on one of the most grueling races, the Vendée Globe, a non-stop, single-handed yacht race around the world. I've been reading these stories, this one in particular, and I want to qualify one thing. I'm not interested in sailboat racing at all. I'm not interested in doing a stunt on a sailboat, sailing around the world to see if I can get there faster than somebody else, get some newspaper headlines. I am interested in sailing around the world and stopping and visiting all the islands and meeting all the people on the islands that I can, and find out what they do for a living and all the things that you do when you visit a foreign land. Now that to me is exciting and it's interesting. But I've been enjoying this book because it is also exciting and interesting. And this thing of fighting a storm on the other side of the world, how in the world could you not be interested in that? So even though I don't want to do it myself, I'm sure enjoying Pete Goss4's book. In this excerpt from his book, Close to the Wind, Goss gives up his chances to win the race when he hears the faint mayday of a competitor. Deep in the raging southern ocean of far below Australia, in winds gusting near hurricane strength, and in seas the height of a 6-story building, he knows that the oldest tradition of the sea must be followed. When someone is in trouble, you help. That absolutely is a tradition. It's even here in America, you're required to go help if you know somebody is in trouble. It won't give away anything to say that he saves the near-dead sailor from certain death in a life raft somewhere in the vast wilderness of the merciless sea. But it should prove as satisfying that his actions brought Goss France's highest award for gallantry, the Legion of Honor. He was awarded the Medal of the British Empire by the Queen, and perhaps just as important, he was named Yachtsman of the Year by a public who viewed Pete Goss as a true hero. When he crossed the finish line, a crowd of 150,000 were on hand to cheer not the race winner, but its hero. Pete Goss must have been quite a guy.